This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Mike, what's up, man?
Oh, just kind of going over all the media day stuff. I didn't go, but I've looked at all the notes of our people, and I watched most of it on television. And I thought Arkansas came out pretty well on that. People were questioning what Sam Pittman would do. He did what he always does, and this makes some fans mad, Matt, but he's just brutally honest. Mm-hmm. And he stood up straight up and said he started listing all the mistakes he made last year. And I was reading this morning, one of them said he should have never said he put too much faith in K.J. Jefferson. That makes him look stupid. Well, he did. He just did a lot of things that he owned up to. One of the things that he talked about was all of these decisions where he kind of went, was a little too careful, like in that LSU game in the first half when they were inside the 5 twice and didn't go for touchdowns and kick field goals, and they ended up losing the game by 3 points. He said, I probably should have listened to my coordinators more on stuff like that. He talked a lot more about Petrino than I thought he would, and he said good things. And then here's the thing. I don't think Razorback fans, Matt, they're aware that Petrino's there, but a lot of them that wanted Sam Pittman gone are acting like Petrino it just had no effect on the team this past spring. And I don't know why they think that, because it was a completely different team. The offensive line was different. The way he used his receivers was different. He's got his own quarterback that he personally went after and got, and that quarterback, Taylor Green, at media days, talked about all the things Petrino has done to make him a better quarterback. So he ended up being talked a lot about. And here's what I found interesting. Sam was okay in front of the writers. But when they got him on the SEC Network set, where they got Dory Noqua up there, and then they got all these ex-players, when he started talking football with those ex-players, it was like Noqua just went away. And these are a bunch of football players talking about football. And, it was great. And he won them over. And then I tuned in about 30 minutes later. A lot had happened since then, and they were still talking about Petrino and what Pittman said and how they may have to reevaluate what they think Arkansas is going to do this year. So I think he did a good job of selling the program, owning up to mistakes. I thought the 3 players did a good job. And I'm a little bit surprised, man. I thought there'd be more bragging from the Longhorns, and there wasn't. And then how about Drinkwitz? This guy goes in there, and he just is low-key in everything and even gets asked, what is up with you? And he said, hey, we used to be the hunter, now we're the hunted, so when they come after you, you have to be more humble. And then this was the funniest thing of all. One of his players, and I don't remember which one, was asked about this rivalry with Arkansas. What is it about Arkansas that would make Missouri players and Missouri fans think Arkansas was a big rival? And he said, well, maybe it's time to change that. How about if we take Oklahoma and Arkansas takes Texas? And that was the smartest thing anybody said at media day.
That's funny. Well, I want to go back to one of these first points you just brought up, Mike, and it's something that I was thinking about last week, and we were trying to, explain. I don't know if you really explain it, but just making the thought out there and making it present. So have you ever worked for somebody where there was a little just too much tension and you didn't feel like your boss had your back? And that's kind of what my point is. Coach Pittman had KJ's back. Your player, you have to have that. And then with Petrino, it didn't look like at A&M, him and Jimbo, I know they might have said stuff, you might say the right thing in front of the media, but I just don't know how comfortable he was. I don't know how there was always this too many ego in the room to get it done. Where now you got Petrino, he has full autonomy. He's going to get 100% of his offense. I think it's going to flow a lot better when you're not worried about, all right, well, I want to run this play. I want to do this. I think we're, like you brought up with, hey, we're in 4-down territory. We're in the red zone against LSU. We're going to go for a touchdown unless we get a sack and it's 3rd and 17. And so I think those type of things are going to help by having Petrino as the OC.
Yeah, I really think because of his time at A&M, around the SEC, the attitude toward Petrino, they know a lot about him anyway. So he goes to A&M for a year, and they don't do much, honestly, offensively. And I think a lot of people kind of around the league, the media people kind of just thought, okay, so what? He's gone to Arkansas. And there were so many things about this job that were different, but the thing that was the eye-opener was his first press conference, where he said that he always wanted to come back here and make up for what he did wrong here the first time. And I've mentioned this before, but I was working with a guy who was good friends at the time Petrino was fired, was good friends with one of Petrino's really good friends. He called him the day after he was fired, and Petrino told him he screwed up big time. He said, I pushed it too far. I thought I was invulnerable. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Well, at that meeting he had with the Little Rock Touchdown Club a few years ago, he said it. He always wanted to come back here sometime and make it up. Well, he got a chance to do that now. And he doesn't. You understand this. A lot of people don't understand that. They think everybody wants to be a head coach. If you've been a head coach, but you've also been a position coach, and being the position coach was more fun, you know late in your career you might want to go back and do that again without all that extra responsibility that comes with being a head coach. That's why I think he's going to do his best job here, because he's not burdened by any of the stuff you have to do as a head coach. He's just the guy that runs the offense.
No question about it. I think there's going to be they're just going to be a little happier being. I would love to work for Coach Pittman. You know, like if you think about Coach Pittman's given Petrino, he's going to let Petrino do his thing. And I'm looking forward to what he's going to do. I know September 7th, Oklahoma State. I think that's going to be a big one. But, Mike, I know we got a little while. It's almost 30 days, 60 days away. But that first SEC game at Auburn, is Hugh Freeze just a bad matchup for Coach Pittman? I go back and think of Liberty coming in here and whooping us. They just ran down our throats last year. I know it was late in the year, and you can say we kind of let go a little bit. I get all that. But is this a bad matchup, good matchup? What did you learn from Auburn in SEC Media Days?
Well, I don't think it might be a bad matchup for Kendall Briles if he were still here, but you got a different offensive coordinator, so I don't think for a minute that Petrino's not looking at that and looking at what happened in that game. Here's all I will say about any of this stuff now when we sit here in the summer. If I'm being totally objective, I worry about the teams that are being hyped. I'm talking Ole Miss. I'm talking Missouri. When you get some of the other teams like Arkansas and even Auburn, they're flying under the radar screen right now. Those are the teams you have to worry about. So I do think that's going to be a tough game going to Auburn. It's always a tough place to play, and he's a good coach. So it should be a heck of a game. And you need to win that game. That may be the one road game that you can look at and go, we got a shot there. But it's tough. That's the thing about this Arkansas team this fall. If the schedule weren't as brutal as it was, then you'd think they're really going to be a lot better. They could be better and only win maybe two more games than they did last year. But if they get to 6, I think that's progress. If it's 7, that's real progress. The schedule is tough, and OSU, Oklahoma State, that's a big one right off the bat.
Yeah, no, I think to use a Phil Elson term, your wins above replacement is Bobby Petrino over an offensive coordinator you fired in the middle of the season last year. So I think that's going to help you have a couple more wins than last year. No question about it. Have you?
Yeah, I'd like.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna ask you if you thought. Do you think there's the gaps getting bigger between the haves and the have-nots as far as the Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, so to speak? But there's the teams that you're like, hey, these teams can win 8, 9, 10 games. But then there's about five teams down low. If it's Mississippi State, if it's Vanderbilt, if it's Arkansas. Is this the gap that we're in now, or can we get over that and get back into being relevant?
Well, the gap is there now. Somebody asked me on this Ask Mike thing question this week, will Arkansas ever win the SEC? Because it would seem like if you were being honest, you'd say no. They've been in the league all this time and haven't won it. But here's the thing. You can't never say never because it's all about the right coach. And here's what I say about that. Arkansas had never won one single track championship in the SWC when John McDonald was hired. I mean, that had gone on for 60 or 70 years. They had not won one. He came in and won so many conference championships, they lost count. He started winning national championships. So it's all about the coach. If you get the right coach, I mean, look at Petrino. He comes in and wins 29 games in 3 years. Houston Nutt won some games when Arkansas had struggled in the first 10 years in the SEC. He came in and had a good period. It's about the coach. It's about Frank Broyles, who came in here in 1958. And in the 60s, in the 1960s, that decade, Arkansas was number 3 in the nation in total wins. So it's all about the right coach. And if you get the right coach, you can do things that your fans maybe think, oh, this will never happen.
I'm with you. If you get the right quarterback, you can keep him off his back. I like Armstrong. I was talking with Christian earlier about what position battle do I want to see most in fall camp, and it's probably to be who's going to be our number 2 receiver. Who else is going to be that guy? Because I think Armstrong will be out there. What is one position battle in fall camp you're looking forward to?
I really, really want to see what goes on at linebacker. They brought in a really good linebacker out of Georgia. I think he's going to be good, but that's a position where they lost more people than just about anybody else. So there was a lot of talent already here, but it was young talent. So you got one name guy out of the portal, and then you got a bunch of other guys. You got to have a linebacker. You got to have 2 of them, really, honestly. So I think the offense is pretty much set. I really do. I think they've got who they need at quarterback. And I'm telling you, this freshman, KJ Jackson, I watched him, and I didn't know anything about him when I started watching those practices, and he just jumped out at me. I was like, whoa, look at that guy. So I think that they've got depth at quarterback. I think they've got depth at running back. They got at least 2 good ones, probably 3. The tight end room, they had injuries last year, but they're good. That's a good bunch. And I think the offensive line, it may not be deep, but they've got good starters at every position. It's just over on the defensive side. I think the defensive line is a little bit in question, and then at linebacker. Those are the 2 places.
Mike, I love when you show up to camp and you see a freshman, whether it be an Ahmad Carroll. I don't know how many listeners. I know you remember Ahmad Batman Carroll or a Peyton Hillis, but you see kids, they get there and it doesn't take 2 practices and you're like, oh yeah, that dude's going to be good. He can go.
Clint Sterner was like that. I didn't know who he was. Otis had told me about him. He'd been a receiver up until his senior year.
Wow.
And Otis showed up looking at another player down there, and he saw Sterner at a game, and he went, wow. And he's telling me about him. So I went up and asked him, and Matt, you may not remember this, but in those days, they had the freshmen would come in early.
Yeah,
and they would
you had your own locker room over there, yeah.
Yeah, and they would work the freshmen for about 2 or 3 days before the other guys came in. So, and they would give us access to those guys. So Sterner shows up the first day. They haven't even had a workout yet. And I see him out there on the field, and somebody told me that's him. So I go out and ask him if he will do an interview, and he goes, yeah. And the thing I liked about him, Matt, was he looked me dead in the eyes and answered every question, and I could see his confidence. Now, he didn't start that year. Mm-hmm. It took him a while, but you looked at him, and I remember telling somebody after that, I said, that guy's going to be a player here. You can just feel it. And you can tell. And now, sometimes people don't see it. I know you didn't start for several games. There were like 5 or 6 guys in front of you. I don't know, maybe that's an exaggeration. So sometimes people don't always see it. But it happens. If you've got the talent, it will happen at some point.
Oh man, I'm a big time Clint Sterner fan. Talk about the proper way how to play quarterback, man. No, he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Trent Dilfer. I mean, just a gamer, somebody you want on your team. Mike, just one last thing: the Olympics are going to start on Wednesday. Will there be any Olympic? I know we got we got over 100, I think, athletes that are going to the Olympics that have Arkansas ties in some way. Is there just one event that kind of sticks out, or anything that you're looking forward to watch for the Olympics?
I think women's 400 meters, They've got some people in the 400 meters, gymnastics. You know, they've got a girl that's only an alternate. She's a freshman, and she probably is not going to. A couple of people that have to get hurt, but she's not even been on campus yet. Would really be cool if she got into the gymnastics part of it. But I've told you before, you guys, I like the sprinters. Mm-hmm. When I watch the Olympics, I want to see who's the fastest guy in the world. You know, Usain Bolt he's just, I mean, that guy is awesome. He's not only the fastest guy who ever lived, he's the fastest guy ever by a huge margin. There's not anybody even close to him on what he did. His time is now past, but now we got to find a new fastest guy in the world, and I love that kind of stuff.
They had Noah Lyle, I believe, is the new guy. Lyles, he's it's so funny you bring up Usain Bolt, and it's called the treble, the sprint triple Usain Bolt, where you win the 100-meter, the 200-meter, and then you run and win on the 4x1 relay. 2008, 2012, 2016. He's the only guy to do it more than once. Jesse Owens only did it once. Carl Lewis only did it once. Usain Bolt, you're right, man. He's unbelievable.
I love that guy, man. He's not only the fastest, he's the fastest human ever on the planet.
Man.
I mean, I wonder what that feels like. You know, I don't know if he thinks about it, but I think about it a lot. I'm faster than anybody has ever been. And only thing faster than me are animals, horses and, cheetahs and things like that.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.